Well, we celebrated America's 250th on July 4th. It was actually 250 years ago this week that the Declaration of Independence was signed by 56 men. You can find volumes of books written about the more famous signers, but this week Fox 43 looks at some of the lesser-known signers who called South Central PA home. Contrary to popular belief, not every founding father screamed revolution from their first breath.
Franklin very much wanted reconciliation with Britain for a very long time. You had figures such as John Dickinson still feeling like reconciliation and not war was maybe the way to go. He fully believed that there were issues with British rule. He was one of the first people outspoken against the Stamp Act, but yet he refused to sign the Declaration of Independence because he knew that that would mean this conflict.
Lancaster's George Ross did not start out with dreams of independence.
George Ross was actually born in Delaware. When he went to study law, he studied law under his brother John in Philadelphia. He decided to move to Lancaster to start his practice after he finished his law training.
It was because of his occupations that you can trace Ross's path from the crown to the colonies.
He was a judge, he was a lawyer, so he was very loyal to the British crown. He was following British law. But then he got a position in the Pennsylvania legislature, and he started hearing these discussions. He started hearing the impacts of these discussions. And around that same time, in 1774, the Committee of Correspondence was founded here in Lancaster, and he started getting involved and listening to these discussions. And over time, he became very much on board with independence.
Depending on whose story you believe, a signature may not be the family's only contribution during the Revolution.
As the story goes, though it is a very debated story historically, George Ross and George Washington were in the Continental Congress together. They had discussed that there needed to be a flag for the country, and George Ross said, "Hey, wait, I know. My niece, by marriage, knows how to sew." Now, Betsy Ross also did have connections to George Washington through the church that they went to, so there was a potential he already knew who she was.
Ross was selected to the Continental Congress 3 times, adding his name to the Declaration of Independence on August 2nd, 1776. But as we all know, for many men inside that room, the liberty discussed wasn't for all.
We know George Ross was an enslaver. So over 40 of the signers of the Declaration of Independence enslaved people. Doesn't make what they did less groundbreaking, less worthy of honor, but it does humanize them in a way that we can have those discussions.
Ross would not live to know if the country that he risked treason for ever came to be, dying in July of 1779.
He's our only signer of the Declaration of Independence, and that's something that Lancaster is very proud of, to have that sort of representation at a continental level, at the level of the Continental Congress, for an inland city at the time was pretty remarkable.
And you can learn more about George Ross by visiting the Lancaster's Revolutionary exhibit at Historic Rockford.